Welcome to the workbench. Today we're going to be looking at the installation and removal of this guy right here, your cassette. So there are a number of reasons why you might want to pull this guy off of your bike. The first is for deep cleaning. Degreasers are kind of the enemy of your free hub bearings as well as your wheel bearings. So if you're trying to clean this guy off, the best thing to do really is to remove it. That way you can soak this in degreaser and keep your bearings safe from any of that harsher chemical. The next reason you might want to pull this off is to simply upgrade it. This red axis cassette here, for instance, is so light. I can't tell you how light this is compared to some of the other cassettes. So upgrades are obviously a key reason why we would be doing this. And then finally, the other reason is that you might be preparing for an event coming up or a specific ride that's either maybe hillier or flatter even, and you want to change your gearing to match that ride. So whatever your reason, having this skill of being able to remove and reinstall your cassette is a great one to have. So let's get right into it. This is a relatively simple and easy process. However, we will need a few specific tools. So the first thing we're going to need is a simple ratchet, a cassette lock ring tool. This is an internal 12 spline tool, but this does work for both Shimano and SRAM, so that's nice. Next, we'll need a torque wrench. This big guy right here gets up to 40 Newton meters of torque, which is what we're gonna need to tighten this thing down. So do make sure you have a torque wrench of this size. Next, we need some grease. Any bike grease will be just fine. And then finally, we have this thing here, which is a chain whip. It's not my favorite tool, to be honest. It does work, but there is a good chance of it slipping. Now, this is used to hold the cassette in place while you apply your torque to loosen it with the ratchet. So this thing has a tendency to kind of slip off and just be a little bit of a nuisance. Like I said, it does work. So if this is all you have, by all means, it will work. But if you do have a choice, I recommend one of these. Any kind of plier type device made specifically for cassettes. This one is from Pedro's and it's actually like a vice grip. It's called a vice whip, in fact. So I'll show you how to use this. Again, I think it's maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 extra bucks, but well worth it. All right, let's get started with the removal process. So if you are using a chain whip, the way that this works is that you're gonna wrap the chain of the chain whip around one of the sprockets here. And you can pick any one, just make sure you're following one sprocket only. So you're gonna wrap the chain and really work it into each of the teeth. And then you're gonna grip the set of teeth on the same sprocket a little further down. And then you're gonna take your lock ring cassette or your cassette lock ring tool, and you're gonna pull against this chain whip. So the chain whip is holding it in place, keeping it from freewheeling backwards. And you're gonna apply force with your ratchet to loosen this. Now, I'm actually not gonna do that because doing it on the table is not the easiest way to do it. I would probably do it on the floor if I was using a chain whip and kind of holding the wheel up. So instead, I'm gonna use the vice whip and I'll show you how that works. So all you have to do is pick, again, one of the sprockets. I'm gonna pick the second one from the top here, and I'm just gonna adjust this just like a vice grip and then click and shut. There's really no need for excessive force. It just needs to lock onto it so that it's not slipping. And as you can see, you've got a handle here that's not gonna slip off, unlike the chain whip, which can just simply fall off. This really isn't going anywhere. So similarly, I'm gonna take the cassette lock ring tool, and I like to position this a little apart. Like, to me, a 90-degree angle is kind of a lot to work with my arms, so I like to keep it a little closer together like this, and then I'm just gonna pull against it. So that's not really an exaggeration, at least for me. These things can be pretty tight, but once you've popped that off, it comes off pretty easy. Okay, so Vise whip is aside, and all we're gonna do is spin this cap off. So this is a Shimano 105 cassette. So this is gonna come off in a bunch of pieces. So we've got the cap right here, which we'll set aside. And because I'm gonna transfer this to another set of wheels, I'm gonna try to keep the alignment of all these rings together, okay? So it is theoretically possible to now set this aside and then drop this on your new wheel just like that. But if you are, say, degreasing this, you're probably gonna put it in a pan or a container, and all of these rings are just gonna come all apart. We're going to have to realign all of this when we put it back together, which will be fun. Okay, so as you can see right here, we have our free hub exposed. There's really not much more to this. You can see the splines in here, and those help to align the cassette. So let's take a look at a SRAM XDR version. We just used the Vise whip and the ratchet tool in the exact same way as the Shimano version. The real difference here is that this is gonna come off just in one piece, just like that. I know you saw this earlier, but I can't tell you how much nicer this is to have it all as one piece. You never have to worry about all those other rings coming apart. Okay, now for the installation of the cassette. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of grease here, and we're gonna apply a light film all the way around the free hub body. And that's gonna help with preventing corrosion and eventual seizing that would happen because of corrosion. And it's also gonna help seal this up just a little bit to prevent moisture from getting into the bearings. Okay, and then we're gonna take the cassette, and we're just gonna find that little alignment spline. There is only one way to put this back, so don't worry. As long as it seats all the way to the bottom of the free hub, you're in good shape. You don't have to worry that you're putting it on wrong. Okay, next we're gonna take the cassette lock ring tool. I'm gonna pop mine off here, and I'm gonna put it on my torque wrench. All right, so torque wrench we wanna set to 40 Newton meters. Okay, now that we have it set properly, all we're gonna do is slot this guy in and start tightening. So just remember, one click is all you need. You actually really don't want to double click your torque wrench. There's a difference between static torquing and dynamic torquing, and that's a whole nother video, but just remember one click once you've hit your desired torque rating, and then you're done. So for the Shimano cassette, it's gonna take a little bit of extra work. We have the first 4 sprockets riveted together, which is nice, but the rest of them we're gonna have to place in individually, as well as those spacers in there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this right at the top, and we're gonna find the keyed spline right there, and that's gonna tell us that we're in the right spot. Again, there's only one proper way to do this, and it will tell you simply by allowing you to do it. If you look closely, there is one, you can start identifying the pattern, and that might make it easier if you'd rather do this visually than by feeling for the right alignment. Either way works. Just make sure you get those spacers in between so that your indexing is what it needs to be. Okay, so we're gonna apply all of these. Okay, so this last one can be a little tricky. And And I want to point this out because it is possible to feel like this thing is seated, because it kind of clicked down there, and then to take the cap and to start tightening it. But it's really important to look very closely. Now this is actually not seated correctly, and I'm going to spin it just a little more to find that point where it actually drops all the way down.
Okay.
All right, so we got it just right. What can happen if it's not quite seated is that it keeps this top sprocket at just a little bit of an angle because it's not seated all the way in. And if you start tightening your lock ring on top of that, it's gonna go in at a little bit of an angle, which will cross thread the threads either on the lock ring cap or on the free hub body itself. Be really careful, make sure this is seated all the way in. I usually do a visual check from the side to make sure it's completely level. And then once you are in the right spot, you can take the, if you have one of these, I like to just hand thread it like this and get it snugged up first before going to town with a big torque wrench like this. Right, and we're gonna just, all right, and we got that click. There's a bit of noise there, but I could feel the click, and so we're done. All right, that about wraps it up. As you can see, that was a pretty quick and easy process. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you'd like to see more how-tos and bike build videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.